So in January of every year, I scour the interwebs in an effort to bring to you guys what the experts are saying are the biggest men's fashion trends to look out for in any given year. Then you and we have a conversation about if these even apply to our age group or how they can be tweaked to fit our age group. And I usually use like 4 or 5 different resources, utilizing a couple of big fashion shows like Ralph Lauren or Gucci or Fendi, spring or summer shows. And I'll quote some editors from GQ magazine and Vogue magazine, and I'll draw from some fashion bloggers to filter out what I kind of find are some commonalities among all of these. And I present that to you guys. This year, however, I'm doing things a little different. I am, as always, going to give you guys the men's color of the year at the end of this video, so be sure to stick around for that. But I got to tell you, come on, man, 2025 is already shaping up to be a weird year. Weird. I'm not sure what's going on. It's almost like a bye year or something. Everything that I can find is more or less a regurgitation of trends that we've seen in the last 3 or 4 years. Are the fashion houses just tired? Have they run out of creativity? Now, in 2023, Louis Vuitton named Pharrell Williams as their men's creative director. I thought at the time that this was a good move for them. Pietro Beccari, the chief executive of Louis Vuitton, personally chose Pharrell because he didn't want a quote-unquote classical designer. And, I get that. You want someone new, someone who's not from the same mold. But, I'm not sure if this is working out for them. Look, Pharrell Williams was named by GQ magazine as the designer of the year for 2024. That's great. But, come on, I'm not sure this is working out for them. In fact, it may actually be a marker, perhaps, for a more widespread issue in the men's fashion world. Gentlemen, I am Carl, and today you and I are going to talk about what the editing team at GQ magazine has listed as their men's fashion trends of 2025. And you may see from this list just what I'm talking about. Number 1, pants with a literal twist. Now, this is more of a statement of construction than anything else. This is just a rehashing of the 90s oversized trend that hit 2 years ago. The only difference is the inclusion of twisted seams. Michael Naledo wrote, quote, "They're an approachable touch of roughed up freak with a healthy dose of Y2K nostalgia," end quote. If you're over 40, do not wear these. Unless, of course, you can pull off street gear. There are a very few of us gray foxes, men over 40, such as you and I, that can wear street gear and look cool. Now, if you can, absolutely knock yourself out. Just understand that these in particular will be out of style next summer, and you'll only get to wear it once or twice before it becomes mockable. Number 2, clasps on fire. Again, it's not a change of style, but a change in construction. Now, here we have a classic jacket or a coat, such as like peacoats or truckers, and adding clasps in lieu of more traditional buttons or zippers. Louis Cheslaw writes, quote, "The simple change gives a workwear edge to more formal pieces," meaning you can still enjoy the classic style's functionality, but without the associations that come with, say, a big barber zip or some giant rounded peacoat buttons, end quote. Now, I gotta admit, I actually kind of like this, but I also recognize that this has a very limited lifespan before it becomes dated. Another trend that I would not recommend. Number 3, Coachan knits. Last year, knitwear became pretty big. This is just a rehashing of that, if not more geographically specific, named for the Cowichan territory of Vancouver Island. Yang Yi Go believes that these are going to be big this year and writes of his appreciation for the, quote, brawny shawl collar cardigans, end quote. I mean, I like them. I can see why they've been popular in certain circles for the last 100 years or so. Yang Yi Go even lists a couple of hybrid knockoffs that look fairly interesting. If you happen to live in a climate that requires you to bundle up, this may be a stylish option for you. Number 4, bulked up boat shoes. Boat shoes have always been a fashionable item, especially like if you live near a body of water, like here in San Diego, or even near the lake back in Minnesota where I was born. These are essentially taking the popular boat shoe upper and gluing on a work boot sole. Are you seeing a trend in these trends? Do you see what I'm saying here? It's like, hey, here's this thing that was trending last year. I'm going to glue this other thing on and voila, see, it's different. Anyway, Reed Nelson writes, quote, "I'm seeing them everywhere, worn with everything in every context," end quote. So boat shoes, which are typically faux pas when not around a body of water, now they have this elevated work boot sole attached to them. So these rules don't apply anymore. This video has been so frustrating to make. Number 5, clean, crisp, raw denim. Gerald Ortiz insists that denim is due for a reset. He writes, quote, "But 2025 will be a reset back into a cleaner, simpler aesthetic," end quote. This is nothing new. The non-distressed dark indigo denim jeans that I've been telling you to wear for the last 4 years, keep wearing those. Number 6, plucky pinstripes. Now, believe it or not, this throwback to 1920s Chicago gangsters may actually be the most creative trend on this whole friggin' list. I love suits. I do. Truly a modern man's suit of armor. Pinstripes, may still hold a certain stigma with some, but I love it that they're making a comeback this year. Personally, I love pinstripes on a woman more than on a man. That's just me. Avidan Grossman writes, quote, "We dig a chilled out suit as much as the next guy, but the most righteous way to flex your sartorial chops this year is a little more severe. Brash lapels, strong shoulders, nipped waist, and a healthy dose of swaggering braggadocio." Yes, the construction of the suit that he describes is the exact trend that hit the scenes last year. But I'm trying to give him the benefit of the doubt here. Number 7, rough rings. 2 years ago, I told you guys about how men's jewelry was making a big comeback. We addressed chain necklaces and bulky chain bracelets, and now we're talking about rings, specifically of the more raw and rough variety. Look, this isn't for me. It's not. I'm not a jewelry guy outside of a nice watch, so I'll pass. Number 8, retro pinnies. Hey, Carl, didn't you say last year that 2024 was going to be a big year for both mesh and cropped shirts? Yeah, I did. I did say that. I did tell you guys that. Well, apparently, Reed Nelson believes that these are different enough to be included on this year's trends list. He's talking about practice jerseys, which are also apparently called pinnies, preferably those modeled after the ones worn in the 70s, 80s, and 90s. If you are over 25 years old, do not wear these. Number 9, tartan dress shirts. It shouldn't surprise you that flannels are still considered stylish. These are kind of in the same vein. Yang Yi Go is recommending some dress shirts that also have that rural vibe to them, which I can see as being something right for our age group. It's right up our alley, guys. Try throwing on some dark indigo jeans with a tartan dress shirt and a sport coat. A little dressy to qualify for a dinner date, yet still casual enough to be approachable. That's really our wheelhouse, gents. Number 10, slouchier sweats. Yes, athleisure wear. Yes, bulky 90s aesthetic. This is the same thing that I've been including on these lists for the last 4 years. Yet still, Avidan Grossman believes these should be included in this list of trends for 2025. What is going on with men's fashion this year. And it's not just the editorial team at GQ. No. It's a rehashing of stale ideas all throughout the major fashion houses. Number 11, belt it out. Gerald Ortiz writes, quote, in 2025, guys will finally see belts as something closer to jewelry, a fancy flourish on par with an icy necklace or wild sunglasses or new shoes, end quote. Look, this may be a thing for the younger crowd, but men over 40, gray foxes like you and I, we do not do flashy. We do classy. I've said this many times on this channel that mature men have something inherently attractive that is more ethereal. Our experience, our emotional maturity, our financial stability. We don't wear things with big, gaudy logos on them. We wear items that are subdued and classy. The younger men, they need to wear these flashy things in an attempt to keep up with us. We don't focus on dressing our age. We dress to our strengths. Not because it's a necessity, meaning we don't wear a belt because our trousers don't fit and we need something to keep them up. We wear a belt because it's another item that we can use to show our fashion sense. Not this. Number 12, crew neck cardies. Cardigans were still in style 3 years ago. Has anything changed? No. Michael Naledo wants us all to believe that, quote, the simple tweak of the neckline gives you more occasions to wear them than your standard cardigan. And that, somehow, that subtle difference is enough to warrant inclusion in this list of new trends for 2025. Does that meet that criteria for you? I want you to let me know in the comments what do you think of this. Number 13, gentlemanly gorp. If you guys remember when I brought up GORP to you a couple of years ago, you may remember that it's an acronym that stands for granola, oatmeal, raisins, and peanuts. It's typical stuff that you can expect Gen Zers to bring with them when they go hiking, trail mix. So, GORP core is considered essentially athleisure wear that you would typically see most modern hikers wearing. We have a lot of hiking trails here in Southern California, and I love going on the occasional hike myself. Louis Cheslow writes, quote, if round 1 of GORP Core was all about technical fabrics, round 2 is for guys who no longer want to be just outdoors. They want to be outdoors in fabrics that their great-great-grandfather could have worn, end quote. So, lots of corduroy and fleece and no rayon and polyester. Number 14, tiny tickers. In this latest issue of GQ magazine, Avidan Grossman was gushing about his recent purchase of a, quote, teeny tiny Seiko bracelet watch from the 70s, which is definitely more bracelet than watch, and all the better for it. It's a woman's model, but I have dainty wrists, end quote. He goes on to insist that small watches will be all the rage in 2025. All right, look, I've been reading GQ for years, and I've read a lot of stuff that Grossman has written and agreed with most of it. Hell, Grossman knows more about men's fashion than I will ever know. That being said, he is 100% wrong about this. Look at me. Do not go out and buy a woman's watch for yourself. I understand that if you have small wrists, that you don't want a massive watch face to emphasize that. I understand that. You have better options than to buy a vintage woman's bracelet watch. Love yourself and wear a man's watch. Number 15, zippy sweaters. Didn't we already talk about knitwear? Yes, we did. We did last year. And we did earlier again in this list. The difference is that this is specifically addressing cardigans with zippers. Do you see my frustration here? Can you appreciate how exasperating it is to want to tell you guys what the latest men's fashion trends are for this upcoming year, only to find a list like this that is just regurgitating trends from the last 4 years? A different member of GQ editorial staff just 2 weeks ago also wrote, quote, there's so much upheaval in luxury fashion right now that new ideas and energy is inevitable, end quote. You know, I certainly hope that that is true, but I'm not seeing it this year. Color of the year. Okay. let's move on and talk about the color of the year. Surely this will be some valuable information for you guys. My recommendation is always not to go too crazy with this new color. You can look for, perhaps a new polo in this color, or a tie, or a pocket square, some accessory. That way you can stay on trend without sacrificing classic style and not breaking the bank. Last year, you may remember the color of the year was cobalt blue. Nice color. This year, the color to look out for is, drumroll, mocha mousse. Okay, finally, some 2025 trend news that you guys can use. I love this color. Think of a darker, more rich khaki, not a chocolate brown. Throw some caramel creamer in that hot chocolate. Now that's more like it. This is a great neutral color that is on trend this year, but will still be fashionable for years to come. This color looks great in a shirt. This color looks great in some chinos. This color looks great in accessories. You cannot go wrong with this one. Please subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and please gently depress that like button on this video if you could. And click on this next video over here where we talk about the latest Bonobos men's outerwear, the good and the bad. I'll see you there.